think Trump should just get over being shot. Honestly, I really do. And I say that because, like with the violent political ads section of the video, he said the same thing.
To see that happening, that's just horrible. So surprising to see it here. But I have to get over it. It's horrible to see that.
You just have to get over it. Just get over being shot. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Just get over it. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter. Oh, also, there's an entire article here, just so that you're aware, about all the times that Trump has advocated for violence. You know, like where he said that the Second Amendment people could do something about Hillary Clinton? Yeah, cry me a river. I don't give a fuck about my rhetoric anymore. So, I should have made a video shortly after things happened, but I wanted to see how much information would come out in the interim. So, instead, we are going to be talking about this now in a video that will go out on Tuesday, several days after the event, but I've got plenty of information now, and I know where I should be standing. So let's get the easy stuff out of the way. There was a shooter in Pennsylvania who decided to go on a very brief rampage during Trump's speech during a Pennsylvania rally. This shooter, who I actually have some information on, has been identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks. The shooter was a Republican who donated once to a progressive nominee all of $15. And if $15 of a donation is enough to wipe away the actual registration as a Republican voter, then I'm sorry, I don't care. The dude was president of the Trump rally. He was a Republican voter. We can figure out where his politics lie because people have been talking about his politics all the time for the last 2 days. Apparently, his old classmates have been talking about how they had a fairly liberal classroom, and he was always fairly conservative in regards to conversations that would be had in said classroom. So any narrative about lefties being the one who perpetuated the violence doesn't make any sense, because it isn't backed up by reality. Also, anybody who wants to go through the whole "this was staged" thing, please apply Occam's razor. Let's briefly allow ourselves to go down the conspiracy theory nuthole and ask ourselves which makes more sense, which requires fewer assumptions. That Donald Trump, a polarizing figure even to people on the right wing, made enemies, and one of those enemies decided to go do something about it, a young and impressionable person who could easily have been part of several Chan boards, poll groups, etc., or that an actual event was pre-planned out by Trump's staff, a event that would lead to the deaths of at least 2 people during the rally, and required a grazing of Trump's ear with either a bullet or glass shrapnel in such a way that he would be able to survive it no matter what happened. No skilled sniper is going to tell you with any amount of certainty that they would be able to just graze somebody's ear. A billion things can affect a bullet. The swaying of the wind, the dialing in of your scope, and we also understand, just in general, that it's more likely that somebody misses a target than hits a much smaller purposeful target. So we'll go ahead and get all of that out of the way. Any of you who've played the Call of Duty Modern Warfare level where you are having to use a sniper rifle, I understand that level was a pain in the ass, but it at least taught you a little bit about how those bullets work. Unless you were like me and playing on the Wii, in which case nothing you did made that level bearable. But that is all there. If you want to believe that it was shrapnel from a teleprompter, or if you want to believe that it was the bullet itself that grazed, I don't care. I'm not here for any of those conversations. Also, we know that one of the other people who got hit during it was someone named Corey Comperator. This person also was quite the conservative douchebag, and while I do not condone the deaths of anybody, nor should you either, let's go ahead and not mince words here. This is the type of person who, regardless of who the victim was, would have told somebody, that they can just get over it. How do I know? Because we can see on Twitter, back when he actually could use Twitter because he was among the living, he did that as well, saying that the people in Gaza will get over their homes being bombed because the Japanese did after we bombed them. This is a type of person who we know was at the Trump rally, and we know that this person was himself very conservative. Now, while his occupation may have been a more heroic one, let's again not mince words here. A piece of shit fired a gun, and another piece of shit died. That's where we're at. I am giving the victim of the shooting the exact same credence that they have given other people as well. Which is why I want to go into my next part of this particular conversation. For those of you in the comments section who would like to tell me to take the high road, who would like to tell anybody in this conversation to take the high road, to be better than the people who engaged in violence here, God, I want to agree with you. I want to agree with you so hard. I want to also heroically take the high road. But I also recognize that as of right now, there is one side of this political conversation that has been engaged in gloves-off authoritarian bullshit for quite some time. And I get told I have to keep the gloves on perpetually, all the time. Within the sphere of right-wing philosophy, it's okay to do things like fantasize about killing liberals in a civil war, but if I were to say the wrong word on Twitter, my own side would cannibalize me left, right, and center. Were I to say the R word, for instance, that would be enough to cause my entire presence on the internet to be at risk, at least for a short while. So I am done. For every person who would like to tell me in these next 20 minutes to take the high road, kindly unsubscribe from my channel. Kindly occupy somewhere else. Go somewhere else where that kind of puritanical and, frankly, less useful political maneuvering is acceptable. As for me and mine, the person in question who got shot at, I'm going to go ahead and say exactly what's on my mind. It wouldn't have mattered whether he got hit or not. While there is a part of me that is boiling and seething over, that wishes a swift death on Donald Trump, and I'm not going to mince words there, if he were to die tomorrow, I believe the world would be a better place. However, whether or not he is alive doesn't change anything. So none of you, and I'm not saying this with any amount of sarcasm, none of you should try to go out and change the fact that Donald Trump is alive. It wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't change anything. A different person, a different puppet would be put in place. Project 2025 would go on with whichever person happened to be at the forefront. It doesn't matter who is there. Trump matters as much as he does because he is currently the lightning rod for the what used to be Republican fringe. But anybody can be that lightning rod. J.D. Vance was also currently announced to be the vice president of Donald Trump, but that's neither here nor there. So there's two things I want to show you for people who want to tell me to take the high road on how I feel about this entire conversation, about this entire smorgasbord of political dumbfuckery. The first thing that I want to show you is what Donald Trump wants to do to my loved ones, specifically my girlfriend. There is not even an ounce of empathy that I have for this human being because of what he wants to do to people that I care about. But let's go ahead and hear in his own words what he wants to do.
The left-wing gender...
After I go ahead and raise the volume, because Twitter is a cool platform that doesn't have good volume control for some reason. But Elon Musk wants us to pay money for it. You know... Let's go ahead and begin.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
So, Donald Trump, while some of you may be hearing, oh, he just wants to stop things that are happening to the kids, that's all. No, that's not what was said there, as I maneuver a camera to make it functional. So let's go ahead and get a few things out of the way. Only in the rarest of circumstances are any gender-affirming cares happening to minors. These are situations where, say, a young woman is found to have developed breast cancer early, and surgery needs to be performed to stop the cancer. Or, in certain states, with parental consent, somebody at the ripely young age of 17 and a half is able to get one of these surgeries. Because, you know, that 6 months was going to make that much of a difference when it comes to that particular surgery. Now, it could have made plenty of difference when it came to the falling off of the puberty blockers. So, let's go ahead and get it out of the way now that doesn't matter. You may think, oh, this is only going to affect kids, but no. If a bill is established that gets rid of gender-affirming care for everyone, gives people the right to sue doctors for engaging in gender-affirming care, and on top of that, people who are non-binary are basically erased entirely out of political existence, this is a bill made to erase people who are gender non-conforming in any way, shape, or form. If you didn't hear the last part where it says that the only gender that will be accepted is the one assigned at birth, that means people who are trans, like my girlfriend, who have already gotten a legal name change, have already engaged in several years of hormone therapy, speech therapy, and everything to be the gender that she knows that she fucking is, that is not enough for someone like Donald Trump. He has literally said that a day one thing that he wants to do is make life for her impossible. It's because of this that I'm going to be trying to fundraise to get us passports, so that if things go sideways in the United States, we have the ability to leave. Because right now, we can't really afford that. I'm also currently considering whether or not it's even a smart idea to pay my own goddamn taxes. You know why? Why, on God's green earth, would I fund a government that wants to destroy the lives of people I love? Why would I sanely do that? I recognize that legally I have to, and that's certainly enough of a reason for me to do so. But dear God, it's very hard for me to not think of any number of other things that I would rather do with that country, or with that money, like using it to leave the country. Because currently, I'm staring down the barrel of a gun where my country is concerned. Now, because so much of that was front-loaded in we're doing this to protect minors, this is a common tactic that Republicans have used for ages. They will make up a problem that doesn't exist. We're not doing gender-affirming surgery on kids. The pathway for transitioning doesn't even allow for it. You're not allowed to begin taking puberty blockers until you've already started having signs of puberty, which means between 10 and 14 years old. And then puberty blockers are a thing you stay on for about 5 fucking years. And then after that, only after that, are you allowed to even begin hormone therapy, which you're not even allowed to do most gender-affirming surgeries until you've been on hormone therapy for a year or two, because hormone therapy affects the shape of every single area of your body. It affects the way your body redistributes fat. It affects how your body operates with its genitalia. It affects all kinds of things. So a vagino or phalloplasty surgery needs to be done oftentimes after somebody has been on hormones so that the doctors know what body they're going to be working with. You can't give breast implants, which most trans people can't even afford in the first fucking place. You can't just give breast implants to somebody who's about to go on hormones and develop new breasts. You're going to end up creating a huge problem there that's going to require even more corrective surgery down the road. So doctors just don't fucking do that. So there's at least a 6 to 7 year window after a child has begun puberty before they're even allowed to consider any of these surgeries that Donald Trump wants to ban. And you may think, oh, well, then why do you want to protect those surgeries being allowed? That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is looking at the writing on the wall. I'm looking at a person who is trying to protect the children and use that as pretense to remove more rights down the road, just like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida was used to try to push further and further against trans people afterwards. The people who believe somehow that the LGBTQ community can't be united on trying to defend all of their rights are fucking stupid. The same people who forget that trans people were just as much a part of the Stonewall riots that led to the pride parades that we have today as gay people were in the first place. Those who forget what the fuck happens in history just get to look down the barrel of a gun as it repeats itself over and over and over again. So that was the first part I wanted to get out of the way of why I don't give a crap that a gun was aimed at somebody who may end up becoming my president. And I don't think I'll ever be able to share even a single tear of empathy for that person, because this is a person who wants to remove human rights away from people I care about. I didn't care when I found out that, hey, that person that you've been reading about, Adolf Hitler, he died. Oh, cool. That's the thing that should have happened. I didn't care then. I didn't shed a tear for that person, and I'm not going to shed a tear if this happens here. Now, as for those of you, probably more moderate centristy types who want to do the whole, you shouldn't engage in violent rhetoric, that makes you worse than them. No. At best, it makes me as bad as the common day Republican. And I'll go ahead and show you why. Bob Cesca has very, very happily provided a thread of violent political advertisements for us to use. These are all done by Republican nominees in various areas of government. So if you want to tell me not to engage in the same style of rhetoric as those people, or at the very least to say that I should have a little more empathy, no, I don't. And I can't. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one of these here.
Join the MAGA crew. Get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
Do you know what a rhino is? A rhino is somebody who's called a Republican in name only. What is this political advertisement? It is an advertisement for registering as a Republican and going out and hunting other Republicans. But don't worry, I'm the violent one here.
I'm Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice.
So we have an advertisement showcasing swatting somebody's home for the absolute terrible crime of being a Republican while not being in line with the ideals of what this person believes a Republican should believe.
Join the MAGA crew. Get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
So, be MAGA. Save your country by killing multiple other Republicans. Oh, but don't worry. If he didn't make his point the first time, he has another advertisement to show you as well.
And everybody remembers when we first rolled on the scene. Well, I'm no career politician. I'm a Navy SEAL, and I'll take dead aim at politics as usual. Everyone also remembers that because I fought for you, they came after me. Well, we're back. Wiser, stronger, still fighting. And this time with an army of patriots.
His army of patriots is 3 people, by the way. How's it going, Bomb? But don't worry, these guys definitely aren't trying to stoke any kind of violent rhetoric. You know, interestingly, there are more advertisements that we would need to deal with on top of this, but I've got a few more here for you as well. Let me just go ahead and refresh this page so that I can see everything that's supposed to be in this thread. Here we go. So this one is where the candidate Jim Lemon shoots Democratic congressional leadership. Definitely not violent rhetoric at all. It's a DC gang!
Well, if it isn't Big Jim Lemon.
We're tired of being pushed around.
And inflation.
And open borders.
And gas prices.
The good people of Arizona have had enough of you. It's time for a showdown.
Don't worry, guys. He'll only graze their ears. That'll make it okay.
How you gonna get?
I'm Jim Lemon, and I approve this message.
Jim Lemon approves the message of shooting at a standing president. I guess. I don't know what I'm supposed to actually get from that advertisement besides that it's okay to shoot at a standing president. Apparently, I'm not the only one that got that message from there, since Thomas Matthew Crooks apparently got that message and wanted to shoot at somebody who would probably end up being a standing president if the electoral was on their side. But don't worry, we got more.
She's going to move the rifle. Yeah, so if you picked it up, you'd flip it to fire, just like that.
Down is fire. That safety's on.
Yeah.
Safety's off.
So the way it works basically is you shove the magazine in the bottom. It's like a power tool battery.
Okay.
There's nothing in the chamber yet till you charge the charging handle.
Okay.
So you take this, pull it back.
Now we're loaded.
The safety's on right now. It won't fire till you flip it up.
Okay.
This way you can get a kind of feel for everything.
Okay. Safety's
See how you like the dot and everything?
Okay.
Let's take your left hand and put it out here for a little more control.
Okay.
I want you to lean more into it with more of a forward aggressive stance.
Okay.
Get it on your shoulder. Do you see the red triangle? Right on top of it. Right on the bottom of it. Got the C. All right.
So that one is less blatant. He's trying to fire at the IRS tax code. Or, you know, firing at the Affordable Care Act, I guess.
Joni Ernst, mom, farm girl, and a lieutenant colonel who carries more than just lipstick in her purse. Joni Ernst will take aim at wasteful spending, and once she sets her sights on Obamacare, Joni's gonna unload.
Man, why do every single one of these advertisements involve a fucking gun? What? I'm just curious. What is the fixation with guns? I love guns. I have a .22 rifle. I have a .22 handgun. I have a 9mm. Saki has a .45. We've got guns. That's not the issue. The issue, the thing that confuses me, is why do these people want to suck off a gun like it's an erect wiener? That's the thing I don't really understand. But don't worry, we've got more people who are mad about the Affordable Care
Have a
Act.
little fun today and talk about two serious subjects: the Second Amendment, and see how much damage we can do to this copy of Obamacare.
I don't understand. Like, what's actually bad about the Affordable Care Act? I think that it didn't go far enough in providing people protections and providing people insurance. I'm trying to figure out what the issue is there. Why do you need to fire a gun at it? Why do you need to LARP as badly as you do? How dare people have health care? You know, maybe if people had health care and could get some of their mental issues checked out a little bit, they wouldn't vote Republican as often as they do. But don't worry, my own district has Marjorie Taylor Greene in it, and she's not the only one on this list, obviously, but she's definitely one who's going to get some of my focus.
Nancy Pelosi is sneaking the Green New Deal into the $3.5 trillion budget. And in 2022, I'm going to blow away the Democrat socialist agenda.
The woman who hasn't been able to get any actual bills authored. The woman who hasn't been able to actually get anything done in Congress. Literally the fuck ever. She's taking aim at socialism. Whatever the fuck socialism is. Cool, the car got blown up. I'm so proud of you. You blew up a standing thing so that you can talk about socialism. Socialism is a car filled with TNT. I'm not going to go down the rest of the list. You can go and check out the thread yourself if you want to. My point is, I don't want to hear jack shit about my rhetoric when this is what the opposition is doing. Every single one of their advertisements are baked. They are oozing out a plea for violence. There are Republicans on TikTok who are freaking out about how liberals were just 1 inch away from being slaughtered in a civil war. Stop fucking telling me to take the high road when this is what everyone else is doing. I'm tired of it. Trump, by the way, the person who I'm supposed to have a whole lot of empathy for the assassination attempt, went golfing the next day with no actual medical help at all. He was barely grazed, everybody. Nothing fucking happened to him. That little wound on the ear didn't even need gauze at the end of the day. This is the tiniest fucking thing. But I'm supposed to care. I'm supposed to care about a person who wants to rip away the rights from my girlfriend. I'm supposed to care about how careful I am when I say anything in regards to this scumbag of a human being. I'm supposed to care. No. I don't care. I won't care. I don't have a reason to care. This is me after 3 days and a level ahead. This is me having taken 3 days to mull over whether or not I'm going to have to go out and get a passport for Miyazaki to leave the country if he tries to restrict access to her medication that she fucking needs. I remember how bad, how fervent the MAGA crowd got after 4 years of Trump. I don't want to see what happens after 4 more years under that deranged lunatic. But we can't engage in violence. While I can wax lyrical about how I feel about rhetoric one way or another, I can say that we should not engage in violence. Not because we shouldn't stoop down to the level of these people, but for more practical reasons. It's not going to get anything done. Right now, the biggest threat to American democracy, at least for the next week, is the fact that Trump can pull the martyr card. Is the fact that people are saying how badass he looks, yelling fight, 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 instead of doing the correct thing you're supposed to do when a Secret Service agent is trying to pull you down and shielding your head. Somehow, the right wing, Matt Walsh being the main one, have turned the conversation into the uselessness of female Secret Service agents, as if being a man makes you a better aim with a fucking gun. Guns are the great equalizer when it comes to violence. You don't need to be incredibly strong or bulky or burly to point and aim it at somebody. And with most handgun models, if they are large enough, they will absorb enough of the recoil that you can have the tiniest little frame possible and it won't matter. It won't change anything. It's a gun. You point it at something and then you pull the trigger. Rather, you squeeze the trigger. It's a very important distinction, and your aim can be affected very greatly by whether you do one or the other. That said, all things considered, let's talk about things you should be doing right now. What you should be doing, every person who is part of a minority group that is currently threatened by Project 2025, which I've been trying to push through, but it's taking some time, you should probably get your passports in order. It's a good idea to have an escape plan. Even if you never have to use it, having access to it means that in less trying times, it's easy to go and engage in some luxury travel if you have the means to do so. If you don't have the means to do so, I can completely understand. Look into how you can seek asylum at other countries if you need to. As for where, that is entirely based on you, your situation, and your means. Means, not memes. If you're a trans person, you should be stockpiling your HRT. You should be taking your progesterone, your estradiol, your testosterone gel, anything that you have to use, and you should be figuring out ways to let it last longer, to store it for longer, so that it can survive however long you need it to if your HRT becomes threatened by a lunatic would-be dictator. That's a thing you probably should be doing. Now, on top of that, if you do not have the ability to leave the country, it would be a good idea to try to find a way to move to more liberal states. Certain executive orders may have a swath of branching power, but if you are in a more liberal state, it may be easier, especially closer to a city, to get access to facilities that you need. But let's talk about the things that you need to do if you're not panicking, if you are not engaging in getting out of a country that has, let's be honest, threatened to forsake you. If that is the case, then what you should be doing is getting as politically involved as you possibly can. I'm talking going to organizations and PACs that let you engage in phone banking for progressive politicians, that allow you to canvass for those politicians. Not just for the individual politicians, but so that you can get a bulwark. Most of your life is not directly affected by the president unless certain executive orders are pushed through as hard as they are. Your local laws are the things that affect you more than anything. Get involved there. Go to your capital and start holding every single politician down there accountable. Get them to the point where they know your name. Get them to the point where they are annoyed by your presence. Get to the point where you and a group of friends make it a more normal thing to go there and talk to the people who are directly involved in figuring out how many human rights you get to have that week. Your tax dollars are already going to them. You might as well make sure that they're doing a damn good job. It would also be a good idea, on top of canvassing, on top of lobbying, it would be a good idea to try to get involved in your local elections. Not just helping certain politicians get up there, but also figuring out if there's any spots that have been held by an incumbent for like 50 years because nobody's running against them, and taking that spot from them. If you're watching politics on YouTube, you probably already know more about the media than that person does. You can get that position. If you don't know how to do that job, learn how to do that job. Figure out if there's anything in your local education sector that you can get involved in. Find areas of society that directly affect those around you and put yourself there. Whether you are successful or not doesn't necessarily matter. It is the effort that matters here. Put forth as much effort as you can into creating a bulwark for our human rights. One of the things that Project 2025 aims to do is dismantle the Department of Education. That gets a whole lot harder if we've got a whole bunch of lefties in there strategizing on how to keep it together. It's infinitely harder to do when you have people who have a vested interest in keeping our current set of rights available and extrapolating on them than people who just don't know any better because they exist in these political positions for weeks or months or years, but they don't actually listen to their constituents, because especially at a lower level, they may not care as much. So find the areas that you are able to make impact in. Your local PACs will be able to help you. I'm going to be trying to do some more stuff with Progressive Victory to see what I can do. Stoff is pointing out, don't forget about community building outside of direct political action. That's a thing you can do for your mental health, but unless that community is also directly engaging in manufacturing DIY HRT, for instance, then that's going to be solely for your personal mental health. Right now, we need more people who are lefties, more people who care about human rights for trans people, gay people, minority groups, people who don't use DEI as a way to say the N-word in public. We need more people directly involved in United States politics at a ground and grassroots level. I've already mentioned canvassing, I've already mentioned lobbying, I've already mentioned phone banking, I've already mentioned going and actually getting a seat yourself. These are all things you have access to. You can also do things like volunteer at local soup kitchens. You can do things like be part of the infrastructure that keeps the bottom percentage of the United States functional. Find places you can volunteer for, because those places are also likely to get you connections to get directly engaged in politics. Even if you can't do the biggest thing possible, becoming a congressman, becoming a senator, becoming a representative, you can still get several positions for yourself. If you want evidence of that whenever you vote in a local election, you will notice that you're not just voting for your representative and your senator. You are also voting for, at least in my case, about 25 different seats for positions that are available in local office. They may not be the most well-paying positions, but that doesn't matter. They are positions that get you connected. They get you within the network of people that matter to people who matter in United States politics. Right now, we need more people than ever doing everything in their power to be part of that system. Because bitching about that system on Twitter doesn't do anything. It's never done anything. And right now, there's an actual threat to our democracy, which is Donald Trump and the Heritage Foundation. Not just Trump. We beat Trump. That's not the end of it. There's going to be another guy, then another guy, then another guy, then another guy. There always will be. So there's always going to be a reason for you to get politically involved. That's my solution for this. Those of you who think you need to have an escape plan, get an escape plan ready. If you don't think you need to have an escape plan, maybe reevaluate if you do need to have one. And those of you who have the spoons willing to dedicate to trying to create a bulwark in your local communities, do it. Get involved in soup kitchens, get involved in canvassing, get involved everywhere you can, whether it's getting somebody with the charisma check to get hired on for the political position, or you engaging in your own charisma check to get hired for the political position. Go do it. It's not impossible. Because if you think that some dumb idiot is currently in that seat, guess what? You're a dumb idiot too. You can make that happen. That said, that's where I'm at where this is concerned. I don't want to hear any take the high road bullshit anymore. From the people who get mad at you when you say the wrong words on the internet, while the other side is gleefully talking about starting a goddamn civil war. In terms of severity, I'm far past the point of giving a crap anymore. Go do something. Stop being slacktivists. Go get involved. And I don't give a shit that Trump was shot. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability that Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.